Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. So today I wanted to have a little play with these napkins from Which Craft Do You Do, the shop. So some of you might have seen, this is the shop. I will put a link down below. Some of you might have seen my video on all of the things that I received from that shop. And some of these napkins, well, all of these napkins actually were from that shop. And I already started playing around a little bit. So I wanted to do another session and I thought I will do it with you guys. So I'm going to choose, what I want to do is make some tags. So I mean, look at this. I'm not sure how I'm going to use this up. So I'm not going to use this one today, but I'm just choosing one that will be nice to make some tags with. So I think something like this, that it's got writing on, you know, I don't want to cut it in half or anything. So I'm going to leave that. But let's see which ones I can use. Oh yes, I've already started using this one for a project that I was making, and it's just so beautiful. So I might use this one as well today. And I already started using these. So I'm just cutting out little images. I will show you in a flip through that I do in my next video how I used some of these images. But for today, I'm just choosing some that I want to use for my tags. So maybe this one and this one. I'm feeling really drawn to this one today, so I decided to start off with that one. And now this is what I'm going to do, and this is just my own way of doing things. Everybody does it differently, and that's fine. So I'm just showing how I do it. So the thing that I do first is I'm just going to cut this little square because I want to make two tags. I'm going to make two tags out of this one square over here, and then I can keep the others for something else or for making more tags or whatever, you know. But today I'm just going to make two tags with this one square, because I'll be making more tags with the other ones that I've got waiting, and because I think these napkins are so gorgeous and I want to hoard them for a little bit. So I'm keeping that. And now this I'm going to separate. So these napkins are 3-ply, and there are many different techniques of separating them, including using sticky tape on, you know, apply some sticky tape here and then start that way. But I'm sure you will find your own way, of the way that you like to do things. This is just the way that I do it. And I am going to keep this, of course, not throwing that in the bin, but I don't need it for this project. So next thing I'm going to do, I've got my little square cut out, and it's just the very top piece. And now I'm going to introduce you to this little piece of cardstock over here. Just use whatever you have at home. So I have this like a page, what are they called? I don't know, file folder, page separator, I'm not sure. But it's a nice quality cardstock. It's not too flimsy, which means that it's not going to buckle too much, because I'm using, the next thing I'm going to use is my glue, which is about 3 parts glue, 1 part water, and it's quite runny. So it's just PVA glue that I have mixed in with some water. It doesn't really matter how much water you put in, but if you put too much, then it's going to be runny, too runny. You want it to be runny, but you don't want it to be water-like, so just a little bit runny. There's a little bit of black floating in there from my brush, but that's okay, I'll get it out later. Okay, so this is just the way that I do it. I'm going to apply a little bit of glue here. I'm not going to cover the whole thing, just like that. And then I'm going to apply my napkin, just on top. Just like that. I don't mind if I get creases. I think creases will give it even more character. And then what I do, so I'm going to start from the middle, and then I'm applying my glue right over the top. Because it's such a thin piece of napkin, the glue will seep right through onto the cardstock underneath, and it will glue the two together. And I'm being gentle and I'm working from the middle, working out, and I'm making sure that there's no bubbles as I'm working, trying to get rid of all of the bubbles, because if that bubble dries, then what's going to happen later is our napkin might start to peel from the area where that bubble has dried. I hope I'm making some sense. So as you can probably see, some creases happening, and that's fine by me. I'm not sure. I have seen people use glue sticks to glue napkins down. Personally, I'm not a big fan. That's just me. I don't trust the glue stick unless I'm going to go and sew over the top. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be sewing over the top of these ones. So I'm just going to do what I always do and use my PVA glue mixture. Here we go. So because when we're adding this glue is obviously has water in it, it's water based. So when we are adding something that has water in it to a napkin, obviously it's going to, you know, stretch the napkin in certain places, and you know, you might get a rip if you're being too heavy-handed. So what's going to happen now is that my edges are not going to be completely straight. I mean, this is really, you know, being too pedantic now, but my edges are not going to be perfectly straight, which means when I'm actually cutting the tags out, I might have to cut into that edge a little bit to make it straight. Okay, so I'm just testing that all of my little area is covered with glue, and I'm quite happy with that. Let's see if I can get up close. Here we go. So you can see that there are lots of creases. You can see that the area is saturated with glue all over, but it's not overly saturated with glue, just enough, but not too little and not too much. I'm going to leave this one to dry, and I'm going to do next one. So I just wanted to mention here, with this glue, I often get questions, can I use Mod Podge, or, you know, you can use any glue that is runny, that's not going to drag too much when you're applying it, because if it's dragging too much, then it's going to rip your napkin. So anything that has a really good sort of runny spread will do. That's why I prefer to use this mixture of PVA glue and water, because it's nice and runny, and I'm using a very soft application. I'm not heavy-handed. I'm just being careful not to rip the napkin. These napkins are quite good quality, so they don't rip too easily, but most of the napkins don't rip too easily. So most of the napkins will be up to the, what's the word I'm looking for? Task. Another thing that you can also do is some stamping prior to applying the napkin. So if you stamp your cardstock and then apply napkin, you will have some stamps showing up from underneath. But the stamps that I have, which are water soluble, they actually will smudge with the application of this glue, because the glue is water based. And I have tried it and it didn't work, so no stamping today. So I tried it with these distress oxides, and they're water based, and it usually says at the back, this one says water reactive dye. So it doesn't work with any water reactive dye because it will smudge. I'm going to use up this section as well. So I'm just going to cut this little piece. I think it's going to fit. Look at how beautiful this napkin is. Another question that I'm often asked is, what is PVA glue? PVA glue is just white glue, and it usually says PVA on the bottle. So it's like really cheap school glue. This one was really cheap. It doesn't have a price on it, but I think for this whole bottle I paid something like $5.99 Australian dollars. So it's just school glue, and it will say on the bottle PVA glue. Okay, this one's done. I'm going to do my next one now. Let this one dry. I've got this little piece I want to use up, so I'm going to go back to my first one and use up my free space that I have over here. Okay, let this one dry. So you can see on this one down the bottom it's ripped, and that's fine. It just means that this tag I'm going to have to cut a little bit shorter, so that's fine as long as there's no rips in the middle. And even if there are, it really isn't a big deal. I could add a little bit of extra napkin on top and, you know, try and smooth it out a little bit, but usually it doesn't happen. And the reason why I start from the middle is so that I can smooth it out a little bit more, I guess, and there's also less chance of the napkin ripping. So before starting the next step, you want to make sure that everything is completely dry. This one is completely dry. There will be some buckling because we did use a water-based product, so there'll definitely be some buckling, but that's easily fixable with just placing your tags under something heavy overnight, which is what I usually do once this dries, but I'm not going to today because I want to film this video. But after the tags are made, we'll see how they look, and then I might put it under something heavy. So now I'm going to cut my tags. I'm using my very old and very blunt paper trimmer, and I've tried all sorts of things to make it nice and sharp again, and nothing works. So what I do now is I put a piece of paper underneath what I'm cutting, and that gives me a nice cut. Okay, so I'm looking at my little design over here, and I see that I want to keep this butterfly. I'm going to cut this into 2 tags. I don't want to cut through this butterfly, so I'm going to cut it somewhere over here. Maybe if I can keep this flower intact, it will be good. So let's have a look. So somewhere around there, let's see what's going to happen. Yep, I'm happy with that. And now I'm just going to trim all the rest of the edges. Okay, so these ones are done. I'm going to do the same thing with all of the others, and then I'll be back. And here we go. Here are my tags. So the first thing that I do before I do anything else is actually make it into a tag shape. So I will go ahead and trim the corners. Now I do have a little, this is just some type of a card from a shop, and I've done the corners on the card, and now I can use this as my template every time I am making tags. But these are quite large tags, so on this one I will use this template here, only because I don't want to cut into that bird. But I'm thinking for the other ones I might do a larger corner. So let's do this one, for example, like this. And then I will use that piece just to make sure that everything is nice and symmetrical on both sides. It's really no big deal if it isn't, but I like to make them nice and symmetrical. And on this one I might use this card because I don't want to cut into this. And I'm going to do all of them. You don't have to watch me do it. So I'm going to speed up the process. I'm a little bit stuck on this one because this butterfly is here. If I trim off that corner, I'm trimming off into the butterfly, but I'm just going to do it regardless. But I'll use my little one. So I think this little project is really good for those times when we're stuck in a rut, and I know a lot of us get stuck in a rut every now and again. So, you know, in between projects, or where you're not sure what you want to be doing or making, or you have no desire to be making anything, this is perfect kind of project for that time in our creativity cycle. Okay, so now that I've made them all into tag shapes, I'm going to ink the edges. I'm just using my Distress Oxide ink. I think this is Vintage Photo. It doesn't matter. We just want to define the edges, and it just makes it look so much nicer. It gives it a finished look. So you can see this one as opposed to perhaps this one. Let's do this one next. That one looks nice and vintagey, and I might even, I'm just feeling like, let me just put this something underneath. I just want to add a little bit extra in those corners. And the beautiful thing, look at how in those little creases that we have, look at how beautiful that's coming up. This one's looking really, really nice and vintagey, and I think maybe I'll just add a little bit more because I'm really liking the creases. I think that looks good. And I think this one too, because it's got this huge white area over here, I might just very lightly. So I can see I've got a bit too much there and too much there, but that's fine. We will fix that once I'm actually decorating the tags or finishing them off. These tags really don't need a lot more added to them because they have these beautiful napkins, and that's the main feature of the tag. But you know, I want to add something up the top and just want to make them a little bit extra good looking. I'll leave this one to last because I want to do black edges on this one. I'm going to use black ink on this one, and this one I actually found for 50 cents in an op shop, so this was a very lucky find. And I am pretty sure that this one, oh, I got it on my finger, I'm pretty sure that this one is actually a permanent ink, which means that it will not, oh, I don't want to mess it up because I've got ink on my fingers. It means that it will not smudge when you stamp. You know, if I stamped underneath and then apply my napkin over the top. I'm not sure, but it doesn't actually say that it's water-based. Most of them say water-based, so this one doesn't. Okay, I think black looks good on that because it's got the black lines. Okay, so they already look kind of finished. They really don't need a lot added to them. But I think I'm going to, of course, add stuff to them. Why not? To make them look even prettier. And I need to add little toppers up the top. So I'm going to go and make some holes first. And then, you know, I'll just see where it takes me. So I think I'll try and do different things for all of them. So some of them will have, you know, ribbons and stuff up the top. And some I might... The first one, let's see, the first one I want to do maybe a little ruffle using one of my offcut papers that I have a whole box full of. So maybe, let's see. So I'll just work on them one at a time and speed up all the unnecessary bits, and hopefully it will give you inspiration on how you can decorate your tags. I'm really not sure what I'm going to be doing yet, but I'm just inking these little bits, and I might actually put this through my sewing machine. Okay, so this is my first one that I did, and you can see the difference how this one looks finished. So all I did is added that little piece of an offcut that I had, and I zigzag stitched, and then I felt like I wanted to stitch around the tag, and that's what I did, and it gives it a nice finished look. And then plenty of journaling space at the back. This can go into a pocket or something like that, you know, happy mail, whatever, you know. I might add something more up the top there. Let's see what I've got. I think I'm going to add this flower that I just saw as I looked in my flower box. It was right there on top, so just ink the edges a little bit, and I'm going to glue it on there, and just finishes it off nicely. I usually say in my videos, oh no, not that. I usually say in my videos, I'll keep working on a project until, you know, I feel like it's done. If I'm not happy, I'll just keep adding to it and see where it takes me, I guess. So I think that looks nice and vintagey, but I just feel like maybe I want to just ink it just a little bit more because it's got those areas that have too much ink. I'm using one of those makeup blending brushes. I'm sure you've seen them used before. But that's my tag number one. and I'm quite happy with this one, and I think you know, in the journal it will look quite beautiful. Let's have a look. This is my recently completed journal, which I will be sharing with you in my next video. There was a tag in here, but I took it out. And let's take this little tag and put it in, and especially, you know, everything looks nice and cohesive because I like to do a lot of stitching, and there's stitching on the tag, and it just looks so beautiful. Even if we, let's say for example, do something like this and pin it in with a little paper clip, or even have it pinned in on top with a paper clip like that. Just adds so much beauty to a journal. And I think, you know, when you look at a project like this, it just once it's fulfilling its purpose, which is living inside a journal, being written on, it just looks so beautiful. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so for this one, I think I will just keep it nice and simple. I will punch a little hole here with my extremely blunt. I just hate, you know, if I've already bought something such as this cheap little thing, I really don't want to buy it again, but it's dying on me and I really should be buying it again, but I don't want to. So now the next thing I might do is I just want to add maybe a little bit of gold something, but let me find my gold trim. This is what I wanted to use. So just a little bit of this ribbon. Maybe I can add a little bit of this one too. So I'm going to pull both ends right through and then tie a knot at the front. I'm not entirely happy, so what else can I do? Maybe if I add a brad, maybe I have this little flower. Yes, I'm just going to add a brad, and that kind of finishes it off. I'm going to keep it simple and just leave it as it is. All right, let's go to another one. Let's do this one next. So for this one, I'm feeling like I might do a little bit more stitching. So I'm just going to do a zigzag blanket stitch, and then we'll do something for the top. I'll be right back. Here we go. I just did a little bit of stitching around. Gives it a little bit more interest and a little bit more of that sort of vintagey look. And now I might just do a simple little tab up the top. So let's see what I've got lying around the desk. Just really want to be, I have lots of things lying around the desk. Just really want to be very simple and preferably quick. So I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a go. I want a longer piece. I want a longer and a wider piece, so I'm going to try this again. Fray the edges so that it looks, you know, shabby chic a little bit. Okay, that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm going to do. There was probably better options, but I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to staple it on. I could sew it on and it will look good. And now I want to cover that stapler, so, or staple rather. So let me just see what I can find. So this is also from Which Craft You Do. These little wooden specimen type things, and I'm going to put one on there. But I want to ink the edges so that it stands out more. I was thinking of using a little wooden butterfly on there, which would look really nice, but it's got that butterfly already next to it, so then that's why I thought that's not going to work. So I'm just going to glue this on and let it dry and call it done. Okay, so I have this in my stash, and this is why it's nice to have things already made. So when you're decorating your journals or your tags, in this case tags, you can just, you already have things that are already made up. So I'm thinking with this one, I might use this as my top. Oh, and then I want to add on to it, as I was rummaging through my little box from Which Craft You Do, there was also these ones in there too. And this one says Dream. I wonder how it's gonna look. Maybe I can attach it with a little bob pin. Let's see. I'm just testing first how it's going to look, and then I can glue it down. I just feel like this black edge, it's not coming up, so I want to see if I've got a gold something. Oh yes, I just remembered I've got this Gilda's paste wax. Let's see if I can make that stand out a little bit more. Let's try again. It's not coming across on camera, but it's definitely a lot better. I feel like I need something else gold on this, so I just want to test. This is just gold sequin that I have. Maybe I'll use 2 just underneath like this. Kind of gives it a boho-ish feel, doesn't it? I'm going to glue that down and call it done. Okay, I'm happy with that. It really doesn't need much. It's already very beautiful looking and embellished. This one here, I'm going to punch a hole, and I'm going to use one of my hole reinforcers, and this is also from Witchcraft You Do. And then now, since I have this on my desk, I'm going to use this. Maybe I can use a little bit of sari silk. This is also from Witchcraft You Do. And I'm just looking at what will sort of look nice. And I don't want to overthink it because I've been doing this for way too long anyway. So I'm just going to choose this one. It looks white, but it's actually a very, very light blue. And I'm going to put it together with this. Loop it through. I think I might have cut it a little bit too short because I'm so precious with everything. I don't want to waste. So I'm just going to make it work. Maybe I can call that one done, but then maybe I can add something to it. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but I think I'm going to leave this little envelope here just for a little bit of extra interest on the tag, and I'm also going to tuck something behind there. Maybe something like this. I think in a journal, in a pocket, that's going to look really good. Let's see. Let's go back to this one here. And there, it's hidden, so maybe like this. Maybe clipped on, but clipped on this side. Let's see. Like this. So we have the paper clip at the back, and then that can be used to hold it in place. I like it. And then especially if we do a little bit of inking on this, I'm kind of trying to hurry, so I'm not using the best options there are, but I think once things are placed into journals, they look so beautiful. I think that looks really gorgeous. So I am going to call this tag done. So for this one here, I want to put a little tab here because of the bird. I don't want to put anything in the middle. So I'm going to use one of these little chipboard tabs. Let me open it. This is also from Witchcraft You Do, and I'm going to ink it. Maybe I can stamp on it, but I really need to hurry this up a little bit. It looks like a hat. If I put on the bird, let's see what happens. It looks like the bird has a hat, but we're not going to do that. I don't know, that looks like a hat. Maybe it can be a tab over here. No, scrap that. What about this one that we had before? Actually, I even found something even better. I'll just use this. So I'll remove this because I don't need it. And I'm going to apply this and I'm just going to glue it on. Ink it up a little, use a little bit of glue on both sides. It doesn't look done, so maybe I can use another one of those flowers. I'm just trying to usually use things that are, you know, close to me or on my desk, and try not to sort of rummage through my too much through my stuff, because then I will make a huge mess. And I am going to leave this one as it is, even though a little bit of sewing around the edges would be nice. These two, I really want to keep them really simple because I ran out of time. Hubby's home, kids are home, so it's going to get loud. So what I'm going to do with these two is just a little bit of sewing around and something up the top. So I'll be right back. Alright, so these two are now sewn around and they look perfect just the way they are. So I think this one I might leave as it is. And this one I'm just going to use a little bit of this sari silk. And I want to put one of those little circle protectors, what are they called? Protectors, something or other. Maybe ink it a little bit, just so it stands out a little bit more. And then pop this through. Pop it through like that, and maybe this one will look good with a little dangly, so I might go back and use a little bit of that sequin. Here we go. So just a little something to add, it's a little something extra. Let's see. Don't like it. Okay, I thought I was wanting to add something a little bit extra over here, but for now I'm going to leave it because I ran out of time. So I might come back to that on another day, but for now this is what we've got. So I think if you can see, the sewing around the edges gives it so much more finished look and depth. So I really am itching to sew around all of them, but I'm just going to leave it as it is now. And this is what we've got. Let me know what you guys think. This was supposed to be just a simple little quick project using napkins, but then I started fiddling with them a bit too much, and you know, I wanted to finish decorating them and all of that. So I hope that you like the process. I hope that you feel inspired. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And thank you for being here with me today. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.